Today we're going to wood burn, and I'm going to show you this little scene here, this mountain scene is what we're going to do. I'm going to kind of go through just some of the tips that we're going to use or that are out there. Some of the different brands. There's a whole bunch of different brands of wood burners in here, and some of the things that the tips do, and then we'll get started. Okay, so the tips that we're going to use are two tips. One of them is a ball tip, and it works like a pen or a pencil. It's got this little ball tip on the end, and if you guys can't see, I'll pass it around. And what it does is, the reason that that ball end works is that so that it moves.
Move it back a little bit toward that way.
Okay, so that it.
No, it's the opposite way, I guess. Right there.
There.
Like right there.
Oh, okay. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. And what this does is, I'll plug my machine, turn my machine on here, and get it in my pen here, and show you what it does. So when these pens, these wires heat up very quickly, but also they cool quickly because your wood is cold, so it's sucking the heat out of it. So it's a practice thing on how to get keep the pen working and keeping it a nice flow of heat and whatever you're burning. So I will do a little bit of this on this. I'll just sign my name. Oh, I need to get up a little bit higher. And where you slow and slack is where you're going to burn a really big black spot. That is not what you want. So to get that flowing right, you got to start putting your pen down and keep moving right as you keep going. And this grain of this wood is not going to be good.
So that's what you were talking about, where like the grain comes through. You guys were talking like the.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you're going.
Straight line, because you're trying to make a straight line.
Right. You're going against the grain. Okay. It's going over the little bumps of the little wavy ridges of each one of these darker spot here. This one you can really see it better. Okay. So as the pen goes over each one of these brown spots, it'll go darker. It'll go darker in the brown spot because it's a softer little piece of wood than this other yellow grain line. Okay, so when you're going like this, it kind of does this. See where it does the? Nope, it's opposite of what I just said. So the white area is softer than the dark area. So you'll end up with a dotted line. Okay, so you either need to move slower and less pressure, or turn your pen up. Okay, but then you take the chance of, you got to keep moving.
You have to go faster if it's more heat.
If it's fast, you got to go faster. If it's hotter, normally what I do, I tend to cheat. If I get in a hurry and I'm doing these dotted lines, I'll go afterwards and just stipple in that little spot where it missed to create the solid line. But usually on this little guy, it doesn't matter too much because you're working on the mountain is not against the grain. It kind of goes with it and works out well with being a little jaggedy. Trees it's perfect for this too, because you don't have to have the trees perfect. And the only place it really does show is on this little swirl reflection on the little pond. Okay. Now if we're going to be working on at least the coal wood, I usually work between a 4 and a 7. I tend to go about a 6 usually on the heat level, just because I feel like I have control and that's what I'm used to using. So I'll turn that off for now. So that's the script writer type tip on there. And then we're going to be using a shader of some sort. Okay, I have 2 shaders up here. This is one shader, and it's got like a little.
Now we gotta keep watching the centerpiece.
Okay.
Let's see, where is it at? It is right in the middle of the pith, right
Okay.
there.
All right. So the little shader is almost shaped like a little miniature iron. And what that is it's flat on this side so that you can get you can put it down and make a shade at that 45-degree angle and get some depth in certain spots. The mountain here has got the shaded area with this shading tip. Okay, and this little moon here is done with that shading tip. And the clouds, where that little brown is, that's all done with the shading tip. You can use it on the dark part too to get the bottoms of the clouds and stuff too. And then the trees are made with this, either the script pen or this one, depending on what you want. If you want kind of a more soft tree like this one is, then you use the shader pen. But if you want it more of little, I don't know if you can tell this, but this one is a little more pointy, little more delicate leaf type, then you use the script type pen. Or else you can use the, this one is a skew. The problem with the skew is that it's like using a cutter. It will cut right into the wood, wherever the end wood, it will burn it and cut it at the same time. So that is for a real deep, straight line. If you're doing designs like Zentangle or checkerboard or a little plaid, little design, the real tip, the pointed tips are good for that. But they also go deep into the wood, and you can't turn them like to use on a circle. They don't turn very well. So each kind of tip has its own thing that it's good for. And every book that I've ever seen has a little practice board. And that's what I recommend for everybody to do when they first get a pyro type of set, is a wood burning set. Just go have a board, kind of take an outline of the little tool and do a few designs on that with different angles and whatever. And that way you can have that always with you, or have a practice board. This is what my practice board is, of before I get going, especially if I'm going to do lines, I have to get into a rhythm, and you just practice until you get that rhythm down, and then you go straight to your project. and it's just one of those things that, each time you use it, it won't be the same, because it just depends on what's going on, and a little bit of practice to get warmed up is gold, and then you'll have less screw-ups. So anyway, let's see. So first thing you do with this, any questions yet? First thing we're going to do is put our little design on our ring of wood. Okay, and I have carbon copies, and then you can just put your little pattern underneath or on top of it. Kind of center it as well as you can. This is a mountain scene, so you don't have to have it. I also have a drawing one where I just drew it on. Whoops. And you can just draw it however you want. You don't have to have the pattern. If you don't want to go by a pattern, you can just draw something on there. So this is the same type of thing, but I just wanted to have my mountain kind of look like Mount Hood, so I did that one. So, but we'll get our little pattern on here, and then once you get the pattern drawn on there, you want to use a really sharp pencil. I've got some really sharp pencils up here, automatic pencils, or else you can use something else with a really sturdy tip on it. Sometimes I'll use a pen without the pen out. Yeah, just depends on what you're drawing and how. And you have to push kind of hard on this carbon paper because it.
And then the rounds.
Oh yeah, that would help. How many we got here? 4? I'm gonna give you this one. Okay, pick one of those and pass it around. Because these ones have bigger. The ones that I'm working on have a bigger grain, so you have that more of that dip into the. These ones that I'm giving you have a tighter grain, and it'll go a lot smoother.
You know what kind of wood?
I think it's poplar. Oh, might be ash. I don't remember. But if you can find or make round basswood, which I just didn't get around to doing, that's ideal because the basswood just burns so nice and even, and it's just wonderful. Versus this one where it's a little bit more jumpy. Okay, so I'll show you on mine. I start with the mountains. Okay.
Do you want them to do the transfer after they watch your demo? Or how do you want it? Does it matter? Because they're going to be distracted.
Yeah. Let's have everybody draw on their little design first, and then I'll go and do my mountains and stuff. Good idea. Thank you. I've got scissors and tape up here if that would help keep your pattern down. So, and then I also have practice pieces for everybody to use for when we go to use the burner. Here's a practice piece for the burner. Need a pencil?
Scissors.
Oh, scissors are right over there with the
Cut an edge.
fancy hand. Yeah, it does help to have it the edge the way you want it. I may just do another one on this one. Okay. I think there's pencil in there. There's pencil in this one for sure.
We got something.
Okay.
One trick for transferring is to use a red pencil or a red pen.
Yes. Yes, I have a red pen in my box.
When
box.
you go over it, you can see where you've been.
Yes.
So
Oh, that's the old, that's smart, yeah.
yeah.
The other trick is to make sure that the transfer paper is the right side up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's upside down. So what'll happen, what you're doing is it's gonna put the pattern on the back of this paper. So and there's a.
I do that all the time.
After you spend a half hour transferring a pattern, you realize the carbon paper is upside down.
Maybe
No.
I could get a different piece of carbon paper.
Uh-huh.
I might try a different piece. Or maybe I'm not pushing hard enough at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm afraid of hurting myself.
Yeah, this is not. This carbon paper is pretty done. I have some newer carbon paper. It does get old.
They do, don't they?
I should have brought some because I feel like I have a lifetime supply when I bought a pad.
Uh-huh.
Like you buy a pad, it's like, when am I going to use this much
Mhm.
transfer paper?
I'll try it.
There's some colored stuff here.
Did you have extra pens up there?
There you go.
Oh, I have a pencil.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's just I wasn't sure if I'm maybe not pressing hard enough. With
No, sometimes the carbon
Ballpoint,
goes.
Mike?
Well, sometimes the carbon's not good.
If you have one, let's try that maybe.
I know that this one's good. Gotta go through them and see which one's good and which one's yucky. mine in blue. See if that works best.
I know if we're going through the drawing, if you kind of put the pattern, you can mold it around the wood, so she kind of get a sense of
Mm-hmm.
how it works.
Not pushing, I thought I was pushing pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pretend that I can tell what I'm doing, and then I'm just going to do a connect the dots later.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty good to me.
Better? And on the trees, I put a long stick and just, so that way I can tell where they're at, and then you just kind of scribble them in. Yeah, but you can do however you want. So one part of this mountain, as you're drawing it out, you can see that there's little shaded areas in the little places. Or you can have those, depending on where the light is, on which part of the mountain you're going to be keeping.
See what
So
you
he's the, demonstrate the ground.
Yeah, demonstrate what you don't want to do. Okay. Here, I got my carbon on the back. And you know, if you do a pencil or a pencil drawing, you can always just flip it over and then pencil all of it like we used to do in school years ago to get the carbon on there, to get the
As long as
pencil
you have
mark.
soft lead.
Yes, you have to have number 2 or number, what is it, number 2 or number 3? Not number 1.
So like, if it like lightly transferred over, like what do I need to do? Was I not pressing hard enough?
Get a dud piece. Here's a good piece. Okay. I got her a good piece there. Did it come across at all yet?
I don't know, I took it over there.
Here's one.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I got her a good piece. Oh, there's just a few that are. Carbon paper does go bad, so. You know, finding a pad of carbon paper anymore is really quite difficult. I guess I just didn't go to Blick. You can always find it at Blick.
I got some, and whatever I got, I realized it doesn't erase very well.
Oh, uh-huh.
Some of them are just like, almost like permanent.
Yeah. So, you know the old erasers that we used to use in typing class with they're white and they have a little bit of sandpaper in them?
Oh, yeah.
Those are the ones
With
that,
sandpaper,
yeah,
yeah. The
those are the
sanded
ones that are to use. Those are great for that reason. There's also a couple other ways to get it to do a transfer, and you can do it backwards on a copy machine at like Kinko's or whatever, and then you put a hot iron on it or one of these shading pens and just kind of get it on there that way. It works pretty well. Let's see, there was one other way to do it. Oh, just that pencil thing. Pencil way of flipping it.
Take a look underneath and make sure.
Better?
Why don't you just freehand something?
Mm-hmm.
In some sense, it's not important what the scene looks like. You can make your own art.
That, or I can draw it on for you.
Thank you.
I've done a few. The whole goal is just to have a couple of mountains on there, have a couple of trees, so that way you can kind of, and then one of those wavy lines, so that way you can kind of practice on that part.
Did you did you pass out the shelf liner?
Oh, no, I didn't. This keeps it all, thank you. That keeps it all in one place, but we do tend to, as you go around your piece of wood, if you were to be doing a design from the center out, you'd want to keep moving your piece of wood around so that way you're going towards yourself in that kind of same rhythm method as you would. If you start trying to contort your hand, your pen will start getting kind of deep and hot, too hot in spots, and so try to keep it as controlled and in a comfortable position as possible. Move your piece of wood versus move your hand.
You could also crank up, if you get done, crank up your burner and just do some practice on your practice board.
This was my original picture that I took off of the whatever site I went to get my picture. And when I look at this picture, you have to figure out what this dividing line is here. Okay, well, they're all on this side of the mountains. On the left-hand side are those little designs. So that tells me that the shaded area is those areas. Okay, so then the sun would have to be over on the right-hand side if the shade is on the left. Okay, you could change it and have that be the bright part and put the sun on the left-hand side, but there's a lot of shading in all this mountain area, and these little tiny pieces are just going to be white. So that would take too long to do tonight, but you could do it that way. So today we're going to do the sunshine is coming from the right, and the left of the mountains are shaded. Okay, so that's what those little weird shadow signs are on the hillside. So here's my little guy. Okay, I'm going to start with the tip, the writing script tip first. And I'm going to test it out on my piece of wood, and I'm working on a different piece of wood than basswood, but I want to kind of get my rhythm going of how my stroke so I don't end up with a lot of dark spots when I start, and then skinny and dark spot and slow spots, and trying to just keep my motion going. Okay. And remember, the wood is going to take the heat out of your pen. So if you're moving, if it gets too light, then you're moving too quickly. Okay. You're trying to get a nice even stroke of a same color. Okay. So I'm going to start on the side of the mountain and start from the top and work down. I put it lightly on there on the wood first, and then you can always go either slower or add more pressure. You don't need to add a lot of pressure. You're just looking to you're just touching it with your burner, but you do need to find out if it's hot enough. So this wood is different than this wood, so I need to turn it up just a little bit. So I'll turn it up a half a notch to where I'm almost a 7 now.
Nancy, I have kind of a weird maybe question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a trick for managing the cord? Because I don't know if it's just because this is relatively new and stiff.
Oh no, mine.
Just pulling.
Mine's always stiff
always,
and
like,
kind of in my way. Yeah,
it's. Way to do that.
Yeah, it's just a.
Just something you can do it.
I tend to put it on the inside of my arm, and then I kind of tuck it in between my body and my elbow, and that's just that just works for me. But if I'm sitting down, that doesn't work, because then it's too low. So
I'm going to do this so that I can have that on my...
yeah, good idea. Okay, I'm doing little short strokes. So it ends up just looking like a kind of a pencil mark by the time I'm done. Okay, you can always go back and get it darker, but that way I don't have any big deep burn marks between the grain thing. Then I'm going to go up to that spot on this side.
Easier to make marks when you don't care where they go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I care
So
where they go now.
the philosophy, I use this same philosophy in carving wood also, that if you make lots of little short straight lines, you can kind of connect them when you get them all in there. And you don't have to have it perfectly straight. Especially on the mountains, there's no mountain with a straight edge. These are more straight than usual, so. And if you were to be wanting to make these white mountains, or where the white capped or whatever, any kind of color that you'd want to put in, you don't want to put any wood burning on that area, because this wood burning seals the wood. Have you ever heard of anybody doing that? Putting a torch to a side of a house to keep and doing a black burnt finish on a house for a finish? That burning sensation seals the wood so that way bugs can't get in and it doesn't rot.
Is like the goal to like make it dark or make it the lighter color?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Like, if you burn the wood, is that not technically
I have
accurate?
I have a trick for that. Okay, so if you do happen to get a spot where you burn, you can, I'm going to burn a spot here. Okay. Oops, I'll show you right there. Okay, so I'm going to burn that spot there. It's like, oh, I got way too deep on that. I got way too much black. Take a sharp something and you just scrape it out. And you get it to the depth you want.
Oh, I see.
Okay? So a scratcher. You're also burning through your lead of your pencil. So that's part of it, why it, if you start out with no design on it, that's actually best, because then you're not working with anything that's slowing your pen down or anything. So, but, normally people don't want to work without a pattern.
That's the higher level of confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Way more planning than I'm prepared to do.
Well. And wood burning can be used in just this type of thing where you're just burning. And then it can be used in, like the design of the wolf, where you've got different shading and, have it all be a piece of artwork there. You can also use shading and wood burning in a carving that you can, if you seal the edges where like the edge of this fur is on this guy from his coat, the paint will not smear and not move into those areas as easily. And you also do a lot less shading because it's already there. But it really does nice things with keeping the paint where it needs to be. It's like a barrier. It's quite nice. And then on fur, you can go right into the deep parts of the fur and give it some depth without putting on antiquing. So if you don't like antiquing and you really want some depth in there in the inside for the fur, just go in there with a finer tip would probably be best, but I'm just going to go in here and show you a little bit on this guy. But when you're old...
Antiquing? What do you mean by antiquing?
Sometimes you finish a project like this and you put some antiquing medium like burnt sienna, acrylic burnt sienna that's real watered down. Put that all over it and then wipe it off right away.
Oh,
Okay, so all the color just stays in the deep sections, and so it makes it look a little older and gives it a lot more depth. I'd say to keep away from the eyes when you do that, though. It's hard to get it off the white.
Tedious.
Wood burning takes a long time, I think, but in the end, I think it's a great result.
And so are we going to outline those snow?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're going to outline those little snow areas or those shaded areas.
Do you normally burn standing up or sitting down?
I do mostly sitting down. Yeah,
And do you have to worry about smoke coming up
Mhm.
off the wood?
yes.
And then what do you do about that?
If you use a fan, point the fan away from you. If you point the fan towards you, first of all, you blow the smoke towards you. And also it cools the pen to where you can't, your heat control is all screwed up. But if you put one, say like right here, and just have it be blowing out away from you, then it'll pull it out. Some people use a mask. I've got some masks up here if anybody is really bothered by the stink of the burning. You really got to watch what you're burning, what kind of woods. Some of the exotic woods are not good to burn. They've put off some chemicals, so make sure you do some homework on which kind of wood you're working on. The basswood, and I don't know what these little rounds are, but I've looked them up before and they weren't bad for you. But if you're doing a lot of it, yeah, you might get a headache. I've gotten a little bit irritated just with my eyes sometimes.
Do you just use like a box fan, or do you use any of the special? I guess
No.
I've seen special products. That
Oh
people
yeah,
use.
you can get fancy dancy fans, but
Yeah,
I just use
have
a
box fan at home.
yeah, I just use a little tiny personal fan.
Oh, okay.
That's just, it's enough to suck it away. You don't need anything too big. But if we outline all those pieces of the mountain, of all the lines that you've got there, whether it's a shaded area or not, then we'll get into the shading area in just a second. And don't be concerned if you do have some dotted lines. Like I said, when you get to the shading part, that'll all come together. Oops, I went wrong.
This might be the first time I've burned on end grain. Is it
Yeah,
harder, you think, or is it
yeah.
similar?
This end grain is really quite difficult. The cross grain stuff is the hardest part of the wood to begin with, and then here to try to burn on it and carve on it is a little more challenging. So. Okay, I'm going to do these little mounds on the bottom here too, but closer to what I classify as the lake, the smaller lower hills. Again, nothing has to be perfect. We're going to shade these little, what I classify as rocks that are right next to the long skinny line of the reflection of on the lake. Okay, I'm going to leave this long skinny line of the reflection going down on the water for last, because that is the most difficult one, and you want to make sure that got your flow going by the end of the piece, and it'll go much better if you wait for the end. Okay, I'm going to turn my tool off, grab my little tool piece with my little plier piece, and then I'm going to put a shader tip in.
So the tips are changed different depending on the machines.
Yeah, right.
Some
This
they
is the
have
coal
screwdrivers,
wood that.
Some of them have screwdrivers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have cords. So in this case, you have a screwdriver.
You have a screwdriver for yours too.
Or maybe I had one, but I don't see one now. We'll find it later.
There is a shader tip on this machine if you want to just switch machines. Save you some trouble, save you some hassle.
I like that. Thank you.
The smaller one. You just wait for it to cool off. Just touch with your hand.
They do cool off quickly, but sometimes not as quickly as one would like.
Oh, okay.
Don't be distracted.
You have to press pretty hard with the Phillips because
I don't think my 9-year-old's ready for this yet.
allow you to get started.
It's amazing how quickly they learn, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why you gave this one to me new. Is there like a positive and negative, or does it
No,
fit
doesn't matter.
direction, or? All the way down?
Probably all the way down, yeah. Looks like in here are the other tips.
Okay.
Can you go with the shader?
Oh, that's looking really good.
Thank you.
Very nice. Got nice detail there with that point.
Oh, OCD happiness.
Hmm.
Do you use like the curve?
This tip here
Mm.
is one that, okay, if you use it this way, this is the kind of the design you get. But if you work it from this way,
Oh, that's kind of pleasant. Look at that.
so you can get some nice shade going on to where,
Oh yeah, it does, okay.
but it kind of works against what you would normally
No,
think
you're
on
right
this tip
See?
that would do. But
Okay. Do you use the flat edge, is that what?
Yeah,
Or the
I like how
curve
you can get those little flecks.
No, we just
But so for you, this is where we're going to use this, is on this, on these little areas here.
Okay.
So you'll start at the top of that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, I'm going to draw a line here. This isn't turned up very high, so you won't get a lot of burn.
Well, this is gonna be bass wood, which will be softer, so this will be harder. And so it may work fine on this one, but then it'll
So
be,
start at the top and then
Mhm.
work down.
I don't see it here.
Okay, so
a little bit, but not much.
Let's crank it up a little bit.
It's on 8.
So if you want it to get darker at the edge, then you just go darker, go over it again, and then sweep out.
Yeah, you really can get some nice soft
Yeah,
effects.
it's nice. It's a nice tip, but it's just a matter of getting used to what it does.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So,
I'm not gonna anticipate a different point like that.
but yeah, play around with it on the practice wood first. I'll leave you this one just since I played around with it. And remind you.
Oh, that's pretty hot.
Okay, just move a little slower. Okay, so this, where we're going to use this shader is in this area here on these sides of the mountain. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little line here. Okay, that's your edge of the mountain. Okay, so that little area there is this little area here. Okay, okay. So then what you're going to do is come out and start at the up by the tip here.
Pull it down.
Okay, and so work at your line, figure out where your line is first. Yeah, that's a little too hot. What you got? Oh yeah.
That's quite the assortment.
Okay, let's crank her down a bit here. See
Oh,
what's going to be
this is
happening.
the shader I can get.
So
There's a
you got,
brown
I got
one
black fast.
in here that's
Okay.
a
There you go.
little bit bigger. That would work.
Okay, so to get that,
Your
yeah,
turn.
it's still a little too hot.
Yeah.
Okay. If I can draw that mountain line there. Okay. Yeah, that's what you want. Okay, you can always go darker, but if you don't want to have that much shade, let's go just a little bit more.
You're done.
Not well. Gotta do the shader.
Realize this is a lake down
So, say if
Yeah, me too.
you've got the edge of their
At first I
of
was like,
a
is that like a
gourd. Okay, so when you see a gourd, if the light's over here, it's going to be darker on this side than it is on that side. So to get a variation, to get it darker over here and then go lighter, you have to have that. You have to start at that darkest spot.
shaky? Yeah.
Okay, then move out from that. That piece of wood is warm, so it won't take your heat away from your piece of wood. I mean, your tool. Okay.
So that's how you get like a gradient.
Then you just keep going out. There again, it's just a practice thing, so that way you end up with your darkest here and you go to your lightest, and eventually you can turn your tool down a little bit and even just barely get any color, or just move faster,
Okay.
so that way you don't have hardly any color then. Okay, there you go. So that's going to be on these edges here of that, and that, all those little tiny pieces. Got it going on?
I don't know, I had to turn it down, it's pretty hot.
Yeah, dang. Let me see what's that's going on. Here. A hot box here.
Yeah, it just turned
Whoa,
way
it
down.
is. It does run hot. I've never seen one that you can work it with that low one and still get that much heat. That's better.
Just gotta go quick.
Yep. Well, no, you don't want to have to go quick. But if you're when you set it down, your instant burn, like that one,
Yeah,
or these ones, or
Yeah.
that's too hot. So yeah, just get.
yeah, then you can't get the,
And then you can't get a gradation. So.
yeah, that's,
So the mountain edge is here, so you want to get this part of the edge here to where it's shaded of the mountain. Okay, so start at that line, figure out where that line is. Okay, that's going to be your darkest section if the light's coming from this way. Okay, and then you can go a little lighter as you go out towards the front. Okay,
perfect.
that's still,
And
that's
it's gonna
still.
act completely different on this one, but,
No. Oh, yes, it will be, yes.
yeah. it's-
Exactly.
but-
So yeah, so let's test it there. And it may not be warm enough for this one.
Yeah, that's, when I did the ball tip, it
Yeah.
was,
I would start there,
start there, yeah.
and you can go over it again. But if you burn it too hot right off the bat, then that's how dark it's going to be. That's your selection.
with it, yeah.
Black.
Thank you.
How's it going? Hey, your lines your whole design looks great. Okay, so I'm going to do the shading part. Okay, so let's see how your heat is here.
It's probably a little low, maybe.
And if it's low, then that's good, because you can always go over it again. Okay, so there's your mountain side over here on that line. Okay, so here's your design of your snow or whatever's over there, of your shaded area. Okay. So start at that line and start moving towards this line.
Okay.
Get that line there, pretty heavy,
Okay.
and then you can move out.
You're making like little.
Yep, a little
movements.
stipple,
Uh-huh.
smears is what I kind of call them.
Okay.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
Okay. So there, you get the dark right at the
line.
time, and then it just kind of, and you could go lighter and lighter, and eventually turn your tool down to where you've got just barely a beige, if even that. So
Cool.
play around with that. And
The audio reasonably consistent between the,
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice a problem. I wouldn't have even thought to notice until you said that. But, yeah, that was good. What else can I tell you? Just a second, that's my family beeping at me.
nice thing about doing this mountain scene is, even in the shaded areas, if you get something a little darker, it just gives the whole mountain a little more waviness and rocky look, or whatever you want to call it. So, pretty hard to screw this one up. So,
Nature has a lot of
That's right. There's no straight lines in nature, that's for sure. I guess there are, but not today.
Not in our interpretation.
Mm-hmm. So I tend to go all one way, going towards the mountain peaks, down towards the lake, I would call it. Then I do all the mountains that way. And if I have little spots where I feel like I need to fill in or whatever, then I move the wood piece around and work the opposite direction and then fill in. So instead, just total 90 degree of what I just did. So if you go this way, once you go the other way, then that kind of fills in those little spots that you may have gotten too light or too dark. It blends it a little better.
Looking for a specific tip.
Well, I think I'm missing a set of tips. Dog ate them,
Uh-oh.
and I don't have a dog.
Doesn't sound very tasty.
On those little round mounds down by the lake, I just fill those in just like I'm coloring in a little piece of a coloring book. And they're kind of in a shadow of the big mountains.
Encourage you to look at Nancy's books too, that before you leave tonight. They're pretty amazing.
The options are endless of what you can do with these wood burning projects. It's just, if you can draw it or paint it, you can burn it. Now, one can do all this with the wand type one that you can get at the Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever. It's just that you don't have any control over the heat. Well, I guess some of them do have a little knob on them, but these ones don't. They don't have quite as much control. But if you work with it long enough, you're going to adjust. So it's not out of the question that you can't work with that kind of a tool, but it just is a lot easier when you can adjust the temperature. How's it going? Oh, it's looking good.
Yeah,
Look at that.
super fun.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a cute little design. Kind of reminds us. Oh, very nice. You got that shading thing going on. Good.
Do I?
Mm-hmm. And it is. It's kind of like coloring or drawing and doing some artwork with color.
Coloring if you're colorblind.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I have a friend that's colorblind.
Yeah?
I should
Oh,
invite him
man.
over to.
Yeah, really.
Pyrography.
Wood burning, it would be kind of hard for him to screw up with.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But that's looking really good. You added a couple little hills in the background, didn't you? Or is that all that was there?
I think they were there.
Oh, maybe I missed one
I-
on my
I-
drawing.
I,
I bet I did. Yes, I
When
did.
when
I missed these two.
Yeah, those things.
Uh-huh. Look at that. Slacker that I am. Very nice. I like those extra little mountains there. I'm going to have to add mine now. Very good.
Which ones? Oh, these.
Yeah, those
way
two
back
little
the
ones
back?
in the way back, yeah. And you can do those, kind of a almost a muted tone, like they're in the background. The farther back you get, the lighter and bluer they get as far as the mountains. So yeah, now I got to draw those in.
Maybe it could be different.
But at least this gives you a little taste of it to where you can see that, we're only using 2 of the tips, today. But, I mean, it is just endless on the designs you can do with those fancy tips and fish gills and feathers and basket weave. And, oh my gosh, it's just, it's a lot of fun to play around with it. You can kind of get taken away for a few hours get the burner out and burn hours away, really. But it is very mesmerizing and relaxing to do. There we go. Now I got 2 little mountains back there. Now I match you guys. I don't know about that, but they weren't drawn in, so I don't know how they were. Okay, so is everybody pretty good on getting their shading in? Looks like everybody was almost done with that part. Oops, I forgot a little something.
Do you like ever sand these?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever sand them?
Yeah. Well, the thing about sanding them is you take a lot of that burn off. But if you want to lighten it just a little bit, yeah, sanding can work too.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, remember the knife if you
Oh,
get
yeah.
too dark of a spot. But you know what? Look at it from far away, because you're never going to be right up to it as close as you are now.
That's true.
Working on it. So, and once you get all the other stuff in there, it's going to come together. So, get those trees going, and it'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
When I did my first pyrography class online, the person who taught the class recommended these tools for this one for it's basically the same thing as an exacto blade, but it's just a ceramic tip.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And very, very tiny, so
Oh,
you
nice.
can't end up
Right. Go wild
gouging.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just same thing, just scrape off
Oh,
the
nice.
black. And
That's great. I didn't know that.
this guy, just a little power tool for either for the same thing for correcting mistakes or for adding light
Right.
streaks. So
Right.
the,
For the eye, that's what I
eye,
use.
yes,
This
yes.
or that kind of thing would be perfect, because I did the whole eye black, and then I've had to figure out where to put the little white flecks. And the same thing on the nose tip, that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the Jen was the lady's name. She does a lot of animals, dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And so when she wants to add whiskers or highlights, this
Yeah.
thing,
Especially, white whiskers that's the ticket right there.
Yeah, and it
Exactly.
comes with all these different tips. And, yeah,
Nice.
What else is that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I have those. That's a great idea. Dang.
Can I try this?
This is a little battery-operated jobby.
It's
Yeah, it's better than my
rechargeable.
X-Acto knife, for sure.
It's another one of those tools that my kids use more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing when they're burning. It's a knife.
Uh-huh.
Like, this is the first time I let my oldest use it. He just, like, I wonder if I can cut through wood.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff, wood.
Yeah, let's
And then
let's
wood-
make the wood
wood-
smoke, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then let me try that. And then see if I can clean that up. You're just trying to see how quickly you can.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get you a saw if you want to cut through some wood.
Yep, that's right. But it's so fun to get those little. And then you see the fire, the smoke on it.
So you're starting the trees. So
I am.
You're
I'm-
staying with the shader.
I do either or, but I'll use the shader on the tip of it, and use it like a liner. But it's just because I get lazy and don't want to change my tips sometimes. So, but yeah, the tree is just kind of a scribble. It's not really there's no definite line of a tree. So, and each tree is the bigger one is at the very end, and then there's supposed to be 7 of them. I tend to never get 7 for some reason. So I start with that biggest one, kind of start with that trunk of the tree first to go all the way down to the ground level, and then I kind of make the ground level to get myself to idea of where to stop. Then I just kind of go and start at the top, then I do little scribbles. Kind of an S pattern, not necessarily a even. There we go.
I'm beginning to wish I had not used as much pencil.
Yeah. It is kind of sometimes hard to burn through it. But I have an eraser for afterwards. And it's amazing how that just cleans it up.
I'm gonna lighten it up even before.
Yeah. Okay, and if you get one that's crooked, that's okay. There's a lot of crooked trees.
Yeah, there's all kinds of.
There's some that don't have very much at the top, and there's just some of them are pretty scraggly looking. They don't have to be perfect. You can use the tip of your shader for the line of the trunk, and you can use that for either the scribbling part, and it'll give you kind of a little bit more of a delicate rather than such a blend. And just kind of go back and forth over the tree and the tree trunk and get it to fill in a little bit. Okay, so there's all of my little trees there. Okay. And then when I get all the trees in, I turn my piece so that I can kind of gauge how far the reflection in the water is as far as how big the tree is. And then I just kind of scribble and start dark at the bottom of the reflection, and as it gets out towards the center of the lake, I kind of lighten it up a little bit. And then I see if it's the same height as the tree. Got a little crazy with that one.
It feels like the set screw is a little stripped, but I don't know that for sure. Maybe I'm just going overboard, but I don't know.
It may be, and again, the kids use it more than I do. Try to gentle with it.
So when I get done, I don't think I had it on this original one. Nope, I didn't. When I do these normally, I usually do like a lake line, and so I do my little scratcher, and where the tree meets the lake and the lake meets the shadow, I put one little white line in there just to imply that that's the edge of the lake. And I don't know why I like that, but I do. So, but you can put that in there with the little scraper if you want. You don't have to. There it is. Okay, so how's everybody's trees coming along? I'll bring the little scraper over just in case anybody wants to do that. Good, very nice.
I'm having fun.
Mm-hmm. That's looking, yeah, that's very delicate and pretty. Very nice. How you doing?
Happy little
Good.
trees.
It's
I feel
looking
I'm
really
making
good.
a lot of like hatch marks.
That's all right. Once you fill that in with some filler of the shadow there, it'll be fine. Okay, so just work on your speed of your. Let's see, what kind of tool you got here? Yeah, this does do the little hatch mark thing a lot. Okay, so we'll get this one in there. Okay, so then we'll flip it over, go this opposite way,
Oh, that's what you're
and
doing.
fill that in. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Less hatch marks.
Okay. Yep. Okay, but the mountains look good. They're
Right.
good. On your trees are good. They are really tiny compared to your mountains. You've got good depth and good size proportion thing going on. Okay, as you were.
Thank you.
How's it going? Oh, your trees are looking good too. Your guys' trees are better than mine.
Well,
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Good.
I
Wow.
like this tip.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I like that tip too.
Oh,
Ah, it's kind of got a little bit of a spoon thing in
Mhm.
there.
yeah.
It's cool.
You can get some really nice
Very effective.
straight lines,
Mhm.
flipping it over.
And I like your jaggedy line here. It's good, and your little bit of dot to dots. They're making it look really good.
Can you show your technique for the white
Mm-hmm.
border line
Yeah.
again?
Okay, so you just burn it in there. Okay, so you're already burned in here. This is perfect. Okay, so you want to just get a line in there of where, say, your trees are up here. Okay, you're just scraping a line.
You just kind of just go sideways on the blade a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're actually cutting into it
Mm-hmm.
and cutting that away.
That's cool.
Okay, and
Yeah,
it just
that's
adds
nice.
just enough
Yeah.
to where you can. It just
Mhm.
lightens it up just a little bit.
Mhm.
There you go. How about it? But your trees turned out really good too.
Thanks. Well, let's see
I
if
like your
can
guys'
not mess
delicate
it up.
trees versus my fat trees. that one mountain
easy
that
to do.
is not, looks like I
There it
got a
goes.
big eagle flying in the middle of mine or something. It's a weird little spot there on that hill.
There it goes.
Yeah, it takes a little while to get down to that. And
Especially on these hard
Mhm.
rings on the
Yeah.
wood. That's cool when it shows up. Really.
yeah. And then you can actually shade just a little bit below that with your shader. And you know how when you got a batch of trees that there'll be a little bit of a shadow versus the shadows of the trees, it'll actually be the low stuff that's making the shadow also.
Right.
If you fill that just in just a little bit rather than being
It's
just,
just not the
you know,
tree,
yeah.
the individual
but
tree
you know,
shadows.
that's an option. I'm just saying. If
Yeah,
you
no,
just
that's-
you can get that effect that way too. So, but yeah, just by making that little line makes you know that there's a edge of something there. That's the bottom of the trees. So.
It's gonna take some more practice.
Yeah, it just. Yeah, it's getting there though.
Get in there.
But yeah, you do have to have a pretty sharp little razor type tool to get it.
I don't think mine was quite as defined, but
Well, and that's what I'd say. If you just do a little bit more right underneath your little line you just scraped,
oh, okay, a little
your
more.
line will show up a little better.
I see. Just make it a little wider, wider path.
Yeah. And that's also going to be more effective as far as to get your tree reflection away from your trees. It'll be better that way too. Yeah.
Something like that. Cool. Thank you.
Oh, and you already did your line, your other line there. So you're almost done. Okay. So now we just got the big, what I call the ripple of the water line. Okay. This little squiggly line right down here in the middle.
I didn't realize we were leaving that for last.
Oh yeah, that's quite all right. Yours turned out fine. Okay, so you can either use your shader with the tip of it, or you can put your liner back on, whatever you feel that you've got more control of. The one thing you're going to be going over the grain crosswise quite a few times. So make sure you go with a low temperature first, so you don't get big burn marks in those deep spots. So I'm going to turn mine down to 5. Do a little practice guy on this one. See, this one I got pretty hot. Yeah, this one was real hot when I did it earlier today. And yeah, it's like, that's not the way you want your line. You want your line like the middle one right here. Well, it's really, doesn't show up very well on that. But turn it up a little bit. And then I added a moon in the sky, and then I added a tree close up, you know, in the front of the, like, when you're working on wood burning, I didn't tell you this before, we started from the back and worked forward, okay? If you were to be doing a tree in the front here, a boat in the water, and then the mountains, you would want to do it in that order. The tree in the front, tree first, boat, and then the mountains. Because what that does is it delegates what kind of, where the ripple line's going to be. You don't want to have a big, deep spot where the boat is. So you want to get those little details in that are further forward than back. Okay? So I'm sorry, I worked a little backwards there. Okay. So we'll get this ripple line in here. There again, little lines at a time. And some of you had a smaller script ball-tipped end. I think that will probably work really good on this little ripple line. Okay, there we go. I did get one little dark spot on one little turn, so I'm going to take my little scratcher, scratch it out. There we go. Very good.
I'd like to try your
Oh yeah,
scratcher.
there you go.
And so
Yeah,
then-
wherever you want that lake line to be. It doesn't have to be straight. You can
Yeah.
kind of go up into the tree a little bit if you want to. But if you just do that one little line, it's amazing that little effect it has on there. All right, very good. Okay, let's get that one line a little straighter.
I just put it on there.
Yeah, that thing gets really hot really fast.
So,
Gonna take a little scraper to that.
I think it's harder to scrape than to burn.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
yeah.
Yeah, that tip is really sensitive. I think you get the most sensitive one.
Realize there's a whole nother
Right.
microphone side up.
And it's on a curved surface too.
You got
You want me
this.
to, it's on 7.5.
Yeah, turn it down to 7. Just a half a notch will make a big difference there.
Salem Club. And they paint, they burn and they paint.
Yeah, wow, that really burns fast.
If I can get a picture put up. There's interesting annual.
It's harder to do the shading, like
Mhm.
like that area. That's
Mhm.
what I wanted, but it was harder to do.
Yeah. Shading just takes a lot of practice.
Get together and they
But it's once you get it, you know, you don't forget it.
Right.
But actually, that turned out really good. I liked it. I like the way you shaded that.
on Salem, it's a Salem Club.
So even though all you guys are doing the same picture, every one of them looks a little different.
Class last September, 2 Septembers ago, on canvas. Because you can burn on canvas.
That's a funny spot, right on that grain line.
So, light up your burner, like it's on canvas.
You have a canvas.
And this little area here is one of those places right at the bottom of the lake with your squiggly line is one place I would sand
You can sign your name on it, right?
just to get this a little softer.
Oh, I see.
It's your bag. You sign your name
And
on
let's
it.
take a scraper to
Well, I
that.
just switched off, but it should be, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I need a lesson on scratching.
Yeah, you gotta go a little sideways against the
Against the
blade,
grain,
and it's
yeah.
a funny thing, but,
Yeah.
I have this guy.
but like I said, it makes a big effect in the end, so that's what I like about it. Yeah, try that one. Let me see that one too.
3-hour seminar that was done by a woman at the Columbia Flyweight Show in Astoria last September also. Her title of the class was fire painting.
Getting anything?
I'm not sure I noticed. Do I need to press hard or?
Yeah, if you've been used to using the X-Acto, then switching to something else might be. It works, I find it works best if you scrape it to the side rather than trying to draw it like a knife.
Oh, okay.
Like this way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't